Today on The Better Part, we will be exploring the Silicon Valley Rotating Shelter Program. Stay tuned.
Welcome to The Better Part, a program that encompasses a diverse spectrum of topics important to our community, which we hope will both inform and entertain you. We invite you to sit back and enjoy the program.
Hello, I'm Bev Lenahan for The Better Part. And with us today is Kathy Edwards, Executive Director of Silicon Valley Rotating Shelter. She's going to explain the new organization and its mission to the community. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you.
I know Faith in Action Rotating Shelter has been an area program for some time. Tell us a little bit about the background.
Well, as you know, we operated the program for 19 years, and a coalition of churches and community organizations hosted and helped run the program with the help of West Valley Community Services. They provided case management and supervision for our program. And about a year and a half ago, our program closed due to funding issues with West Valley Community Services, and our coalition decided to reopen the shelter program with a new nonprofit that we incorporated called Faith in Action Silicon Valley Rotating Shelter.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm sure everybody's going to be pleased to see what's coming. So what's different now? What are some of the considerations that your coalition had to make in forming this 501c3?
Well, our new nonprofit is focused solely on running and operating the rotating shelter program. So we have our main priority is managing and making sure that the program succeeds. And our coalition, when we closed, they were a little disheartened and wondering what they were called to do and how we could be helping in the community. And so we met a few times and explored some other opportunities, but kept coming back to the rotating shelter program. We feel like the rotating shelter provides an opportunity for the community to be engaged with the homeless and to keep the faith community involved in providing services to the homeless.
So exactly what is Faith in Action Rotating Shelter's mission? And tell me a little bit about the geography you cover, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, we would like to provide a supportive, stable environment, shelter environment for our guests and be able to help them find employment and housing. Our goal is for our guests to find permanent or transitional housing by the end of their stay in the shelter. And we serve the entire Bay Area, but our host sites are located in Sunnyvale, Cupertino, and Saratoga.
Oh, that's pretty wide geography, actually. So, but it's very helpful, isn't it, for the men involved?
It is, and we realize that there are no other shelter programs in Sunnyvale, Cupertino, Saratoga, Los Altos, Mountain View. This whole area is really devoid of a lot of services for the homeless, especially shelter. And there is an Armory temporary winter shelter that EHC runs, but it is going to be closing on March 31st.
Oh, my goodness.
And we're not sure whether it will continue to operate next year. So it's really the only emergency housing for the homeless in the northern part of the county.
We don't necessarily think of this being an area that needs that kind of support, but actually it is. So, and how many men do you work with at a time? And tell us more about these men and how they're chosen, a little more about them.
Well, our program is definitely a program. It's not just a drop-in shelter that anyone can come to. We require the applicants to apply to the program, and we can take up to 15 men at a time, and they can stay for up to 90 days. When they apply, the criteria for entering the program is that they need to be clean and sober and committed to that, and be employed or employable and willing to look for work, and then also to be able to really be motivated to move into permanent or transitional housing. It's not a stop-off for people to say, I'm going to be in this program for 90 days and then move on to another shelter program.
Yes, so that's clear to them when they actually are interviewed for.
Right. Right. We work with a lot of other community agencies. They provide referrals to us, and we communicate the criteria for the program through our website and also through the referral agencies, and just when we interview and screen the applicants. We make sure that it's clear to them. They also are going to be signing a contract, agreeing to abide by the rules of the program, and also any regulations or rules that any of our host sites have to adhere to. And so they really do have to make a commitment to the program and to their own sustainability at the end of it.
Sounds like some serious decision making that needs to go on internally with those men before they really come into the program.
Exactly. I think that it is kind of a relatively strict criteria. We wish that we could help everyone who's homeless in the Bay Area, but we are opening the doors of our congregations, and oftentimes they have preschools or music schools or elementary schools on site. And so this is really what we feel like we can do, and it provides us with some sense of the parameters of what we're able to really handle.
Very good. Well, as I understand it, the faith community is a really important component to the success of the rotating shelter program. So what all do they do, and how are they organized to take care of these men when they do come in and they're with these host families, host churches?
Well, our faith community has been a huge part of this program for 20 some years, and so I think it's just an amazing kind of tribute to an ecumenical approach to serving the homeless. Of course, we have some host congregations who actually house the shelter. Each month, they will house it for a month at a time, and then the shelter moves from host site to host site every month. And so that in of itself is, a big commitment on a congregation's part. But also they provide volunteers who provide meals every night, and shoppers who purchase groceries and supplies for the shelter, and so that the guys can make their own lunches and breakfast, and go out during their day, either working or looking for work. And so we have volunteers who host and greet in the evening as well. So we are very just grateful that the faith community is so engaged with supporting the homeless.
And as I understand it, the faith community is very happy that this program is up and going again, because they felt very sad that it went away for a time.
Yes.
And they realized there was still a need, and now it can be fulfilled again. And so I think it's given them an outreach that they're very pleased about as well, don't you?
Yes, I think that that this is one area of mission or service that our congregations are able to be involved with, and anyone can come. Families can be involved, elderly, senior citizens can come and help provide meals, and really it's something that everyone can relate to, and our guests are good company, and they appreciate the fellowship that our volunteers provide to them, and I think that it's just a very relational opportunity for our faith community and the community at large.
Well, I think so often there isn't any other way for usual folks to be in contact with people who we consider homeless. And it really does help inform and help us understand and appreciate, and be a lot more sensitive to how we can support and help folks who just need a hand up and a hand out at this point.
Right.
So I know there are other groups that make the rotating shelter work. Other partners of the board. How are you organized, and what do some of these other groups do to make this program really work?
Well, you know, when we decided to incorporate our nonprofit, and when we really embarked on reopening the rotating shelter program, we wanted to be really intentional about how we did set up our governance and how we resource the program. So we have a board, which of course you know about, that is a group of community leaders who are helping to just provide guidance on governance and all of the kind of legal issues and just fundraising and that kind of thing. And then we also have a host council made up of representatives from each of the host congregations, as well as some of the other supporting organizations and congregations who provide meals and supplies and support for the program. And so we're just really happy to see all of these congregations coming back and saying, yay, we are so happy to see this program reopening and to be involved with it. We have the Rotary, the Kiwanis, the Optimist, a lot of community service organizations who are cheering us on, and so it's been a very positive response, and that just confirms and affirms, our mission and our commitment to the homeless in our area.
Well, I know our Cupertino Rotary Club actually stood up and clapped when I announced that we were going to be able to make meals once again for the rotating shelter. It's really fun because we have one guy whose meatloaf is very famous. So he was, first with his hand up to say, okay, I'll start the ball rolling with my meatloaf dinner. And immediately the rest of the meal was all filled in. And another guy said, can we still do barbecues? I'd love to come and do a barbecue, and we'll make hot dogs and hamburgers. And they also like to come and sit and actually have the meal with the men and get to talk with them a little bit. And some men are a little more private than others, but others really appreciate it. Appreciate being included. So
Yes.
it's very nice to have that opportunity.
Well, and I think that our guests of the shelter are really blessed to have so many people who really are interested in them and providing support, and they feel that. And then they really do thrive in our program. They don't just have our program or case manager working with them. They feel the support of the community, really caring about them and listening to them, and a lot of times that's really what they need. And so we do encourage volunteers to bring the meal, but also to stay and visit and just encourage our guests in their journey, because they obviously are working through issues and that kind of thing, but they're just like you and I, and they really do love kind of the social contact. And then, too, by doing that, I think our volunteers get a feel for the kinds of things that our clients and our guests need, and then they're more able to provide that through Faith in Action, and we are able to just really provide many more resources than we could with just paid supervisors and case management.
Right. Well, we know that volunteers are really a very important part of this, a very important commodity for you to have. And so how do you motivate them and ensure that they'll stay with you? And ensure also that they'll do what they say they'll do, because this is going to be primarily a volunteer-run organization. And that's a little bit different than having all hired employees.
Exactly. And as you know, our board, our officers, our host council all serve as volunteers with no compensation.
Including you, I might add.
Including me. But I also, I think that as we began, we really were intentional to include engagement as one of our core values. And so, we have raised the bar a little bit, asking our board members, our host council, to really be educated about our program, to really understand what our goals are and how we are, going to go about getting those taken care of, but also to be the communicators and the leaders among our congregations and our service organizations, so that each of them feels that ownership of their leadership roles. And so they're conduits to it for communication. They're the ones who make sure that if Meatloaf is coming, that Carol Atwood at Rotary is going to make sure that that happens. And so, so we feel like we're have a fresh start with our volunteers, and we're reinvigorated, and I think that they are really excited to be involved.
Oh, the people I've met certainly are. And I could say also that you've set a very high standard with regard to showing appreciation to your volunteers. There's nothing like a really heartfelt thank you.
Exactly.
And to have it often and genuine really does help keep those volunteers motivated to continue to do what they say they're going to do. And I think they encourage one another too when they see the good work that's coming out of it.
Well, one of our goals is to affirm the community in this this whole process of working
very
with the
much so.
homeless, and also maybe resourcing other organizations that need help. We're really trying to build community and collaboration among all the helping agencies in the Bay Area, so that when we have people who might be able to provide resources to another organization, that we can connect them with some of our partners. And also we just really do appreciate our volunteers, and I think that they also hear that from our guests. And the guests are truly grateful for what the churches, the congregations are doing, and all of the volunteers who come to help.
I remember taking a meal once and having the men actually follow me out the door with my dish in hand, thanking me the whole way out to the parking lot. And I was thinking, I'm the one who's thankful. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I'm the one who should be turning around and thanking them. But they, you could tell that they were just so appreciative of what they were receiving. So that's all very good. But we have to do some fundraising to make this all happen, don't we?
Yes, we
Fundraising has
do.
to happen if you're, whether you're all volunteer organization or have a small staff like Rotating Shelter will have. So how are you going about the fundraising part of all this?
Well, you're right. We're a startup, and so we're very new. We are developing our funding sources, and we are embarking on a significant fundraising campaign right now. We are seeking funds from individuals and from the faith community, from community service organizations like Rotary and Kiwanis. We also are reaching out to private foundations and corporations. And we are not really looking right now for government funding. We feel like one of the reasons that the shelter closed a few years ago was because of the instability and the uncertainty of city funding and government funding sources. And so in the spirit of being a truly community-based organization, we really want to feel the support of the community in our fundraising. And since our operating budget is primarily to provide case management and overnight supervision for the program, we're able to kind of leverage our operating budget with the donations of the community and the faith community for housing and meals and supplies and volunteer hours in a way that that really lends to that spirit. And so all of our fundraising efforts are, just getting underway, and we're excited to kind of present our program to the community.
Good. Well, this is one way to do it.
Exactly.
The better part.
Yeah.
So how many congregations do you have working with you, and how does that work? You have to move things around a lot, I'm sure.
Right, right. We have 9 host congregations. 2 of them are co-hosts at our church in March, and we are looking for 4 other host sites as well. And so we'd like to round out our calendar so that we have 1 host site per month of the calendar year. And so we do have supplies for the program and for the personal items of our guests that we move once a month. And so we are lucky to have Legacy Transportation has offered a truck and a driver for us, so
nice.
that we're able to move on usually it's the last Saturday of each month, and move to the new host site. So.
So that's a little bit of a packing up and moving things around, but I know volunteers are good at that too.
Well, you know, we actually ask the guests to be in charge of the move. It is a way that they can, you know, build their own accountability and ownership for the program, and so we are moving their personal items, and so the overnight supervisor who's on board that night, they work with the guests to get everything packed up and shipped off.
Very good.
So,
I like that idea of the accountability on their part too, because they'll certainly have to have that when they're on their own, for
Right.
sure.
Right.
So a question comes up a little bit about the safety and security. You're at the churches and the synagogues, and you want the men to be safe, and you also want the usual folks who are coming and going at the churches to be safe. Tell me a little bit about the safety and security issues and how you've worked with those.
So there are two different things going on when we consider that. The way that we've set up the parameters of the program, I think, really address safety and security quite a bit. They are also in part, what we're able to handle and what we're able to actually provide. But just by screening and monitoring the guests that are involved in the program, we have people who are clean and sober, and also we don't accept any sexual offenders or felony convicted individuals. We aren't able to really provide services, mental health services, so we don't have any individuals with severe mental health issues. And so that criteria in and of itself is one of the ways that we make sure that we're not bringing people onto each of the sites that will pose a security risk. But we also ask each of the host sites to provide a secure place to store our guests' belongings, and to make sure that, you know, all of the fire codes are taken care of and that kind of thing. We're in constant contact with Sunnyvale Public Safety and the Sheriff's Department, letting them know where the shelter is located, and just making sure that they're aware that we're there. So.
That sounds like you've covered all the bases. It's important. It's really an important part of your whole program, and
It is.
what will keep it sound for a long, long time. Well, success. How will you know you're successful? What kind of rigor are you putting on yourself now to make sure that this program will be successful? How will you know that?
Well, I think that there are a lot of different measures for success, but our main goals are to help our individual guests to become employed if they aren't employed already, and to help them move into permanent housing. So those are really our main goals with regard to our
Criteria.
clients and our guests. But we also have the goal of engaging the community, and so I think seeing our program completely resourced by the community in ways that other programs may not actually have the resources that we do through our congregations and individuals who are interested, and I really feel like that's going to be another kind of measure of our success as well.
So both their time and their in-kind gifts, and as those continue to be checked off month after month.
Right, because there are a lot of ways that people can become involved.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Give us an example of a couple of success stories. Tell us, you know it works, so tell us a couple of examples you have.
Well, just some more recent examples from the last few groups that were in the rotating shelter. There was a fellow who had come to the shelter after he had lost his job, and he had some emotional issues. He was really, I think, struggling with depression and some other issues, and he came into the program and really had the support of our case manager, but also just thrived in the environment of support of the community and the congregations that were providing meals and support to him. And he did, our program manager helped him find a job. He found a job.
Wonderful.
And he moved into housing. And so for the past 2 years, he's been employed and housed, and also working at the movie theater over at Santana Row. And so a couple of us see him there often, and he always comments on how the Faith in Action saved his life.
Oh,
And so
goodness.
it's so rewarding to see him and to see how content he is with his life. And he really wasn't looking for anything very fancy, and that's what he always says. But he's very content with what's going on in his life now.
Oh, I love that story. And these could be people that we run into day in and day out as we're
Exactly.
going about our business, isn't it?
Yes.
And what a wonderful story to tell. Well,
Yeah.
before time gets away from us, tell us how the community can be a part of this worthwhile initiative,
Well,
rotating
I'm
shelter.
happy to tell you that.
Okay, good.
So, you know, everyone can check out our website. We do have on our website ways that people can become more involved. We would like to have individuals who are interested in helping with either job development or resume writing, financial planning for our guests, computer skills, and just various different types of mentoring and helping our guests to really access all of the possible resources they can through our volunteers. But also, of course, we are looking for funding and for in-kind donations, and we do have a wish list there as well.
It's on the website, right?
It is on our website, and we are really excited to be opening in March of 2012.
Well, this has been delightful, Kathy, and I want to wish you and Faith in Action Rotating Shelter all good fortune in the future. I know it's going to be a very successful program. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week on The Better Part.